Welcome to US Secret Agenda YouTube channel. While the tensions in Eastern Europe continue, Russia continues to threaten the North Atlantic Alliance countries with very large-scale operations. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers and thousands of military equipment and dozens of warplanes piled on the Ukrainian border make it clear that war will break out at any moment. Russia gathered a great deal of power by turning its large border with Ukraine into its advantage. Russia is trying to remedy many moves of the USA, especially with the air defense systems and electronic warfare technology it has placed in the region. At the same time, Russia's operations in the seas continue in the harshest way. Naval warfare actually flared up in the Black Sea and continued in the Baltic Sea. After the North Atlantic Alliance's major exercises in the Black Sea, Crimea was surrounded by warships belonging to the North Atlantic Alliance. Crimean airspace was harassed many times during the offensive exercises around Crimea by planes departing from aircraft carriers belonging to the USA and the United Kingdom. While Russia reacted harshly to these maneuvers, Great Britain and the USA, noting that Crimea is Ukrainian territory, they stated that they got the permission to enter the air and sea space of Crimea from Ukraine. It has been decided today that Russia will conduct its largest naval exercise this year near the UK coast. This exercise, which Russia will carry out with 20 warships, will be a very big offensive exercise. It is stated that nuclear submarines will participate in this exercise as well as warships. However, when attention is paid to the area where the exercise is carried out, a very critical piece of information emerges. The fact that the region designated for the exercise is the region where the submarine fiber optic cables are located seems quite worrying. Because with this exercise, Russia openly told the North Atlantic Alliance that we have the power to cut off all your local communications. Gives the message. As a result of the decision of this exercise, the North Atlantic Alliance goes into a red alert state, and the fact that the exercise complies with every rule makes the exercise much more thought-provoking. Because when the North Atlantic Alliance and the United Kingdom want to intervene in the region, they will face the provisions of international law. We will see in the coming days whether this well-planned exercise will achieve its purpose. In addition, Russia is challenging the US and Japanese Navy by undertaking a major armament in the Kuril Islands in the South China Sea. At the same time, everyone knows the great chaos in the Mediterranean. Russia was ready in the Mediterranean with the last 6 warships and 3 nuclear submarines. These war machines in the Syrian port of Tartus have not been seen recently. Especially after the Russian warships that left the Baltic Sea and reached the Mediterranean by crossing the English Strait, Russia chased a North Atlantic Alliance warship in the Adriatic, causing it to hide. It is obvious that Russia is disturbing both the North Atlantic Alliance and the USA with its operations not only in Ukraine and its surroundings, but also in many different seas. Now, with the addition of the UK coast to these, we clearly see a Putin challenging the world with his navy in different seas without being close or far from the region. Now let's examine the details of our news. In response to the actions of London and the open threats issued against Russia, it was decided to hold the largest military exercises right off the coast of Great Britain and Ireland. Judging by the area of military exercises, it is located about 500 kilometers from the coast of Great Britain and about 300 kilometers from the coast of Ireland. This is not just about the deployment of Russian warships, but also about the use of long-range anti-submarine aircraft and missile firing. However, it is not this fact that poses a much greater danger, but the fact that the area where large-scale military exercises of the Russian Navy are conducted is located in the area where submarine optical cables, which are considered almost strategic objects, lie. London has not yet made any official statements on this matter. However, the situation for the UK, and in general for North Atlantic Alliance, is deplorable, since the alliance simply cannot interfere with the Russian military exercises in any way. They are held in accordance with international norms and regulations. Moreover, experts pay attention to the depth map in the area of military exercises. Judging by it, Russian nuclear submarines, special underwater vehicles and special underwater equipment can be transferred to the area, which, due to the lack of equipment, North Atlantic Alliance simply cannot monitor. Quite remarkable is the fact that relatively recently Russian reconnaissance ships, submarines and even special hydrographic vessels were seen in this area. 20 warships and vessels of the Russian Baltic Fleet departed from their naval bases and deployed to designated areas in the Baltic Sea for combat training missions, the fleet's press office reported on Monday. 20 combat ships and support vessels of the Baltic Fleet have departed from their permanent bases and deployed to designated areas in the Baltic Sea for accomplishing scheduled combat training measures, the press office said in a statement. The warships, integrated into several tactical groups, will be accomplishing assigned anti-submarine and air defense tasks and mine countermeasures in support of the naval groups with a live fire exercise, the statement says. Minesweepers and small anti-submarine warfare ships, as well as missile corvettes and missile boats, will operate as part of the naval groups during the naval maneuvers, the Baltic Fleet's press office reported. In compliance with the 2022 plan of the Russian Armed Forces training, a series of naval drills will be held in January to February this year in all the areas of responsibility of the Navy's fleets under the general command of Russian Navy Commander-in-Chief Admiral Nikolai Yevmenov. The naval maneuvers will focus on measures by the Navy and the Aerospace Force to protect Russia's national interests in the world ocean and counter military threats to Russia from the direction of seas and oceans. The drills will cover the seas adjacent to Russian territory and also operationally important areas of the world ocean. Separate drills will run in the Mediterranean, North and Okhotsk seas, in the northeastern Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean. Overall, the sweeping drills will bring together over 140 warships and support vessels, more than 60 aircraft, 1,000 items of military hardware and about 10,000 troops. In accordance with a plan for training the Russian armed forces in 2022, a series of naval exercises will be held in January to February in all zones of the fleet's responsibility under the general guidance of the Commander-in-Chief of the Russian Navy, Admiral Nikolai Yevmenov, the news release reads. The main purpose of the exercise is to let the Navy and Aerospace Force to practice operations to protect Russia's national interests in the world ocean and also to resist military threats to Russia on the sea. The exercises will encompass seas washing Russia and also world ocean areas of key importance. There will be some exercises in the Mediterranean and Northern Seas and the Sea of Okhotsk, in the northeastern Atlantic and in the Pacific, the Defense Ministry said. Participating in the exercises will be more than 140 combat and supply ships, more than 60 aircraft, 1,000 pieces of military equipment, and 10,000 military servicemen. The Defense Ministry said that on January 18 to 22, 2022, Russia, China and Iran would hold a joint naval exercise CHIRU-2Q22 in the Gulf of Oman. Participating in the exercise from Russia will be a group of ships from Russia's Pacific Fleet, the guided missile cruiser Varyag, anti-submarine ship Admiral Tributs, and sea-going fuel tanker Boris Butoma, the Russian Defense Ministry said. The exercise will involve an artillery firing practice, joint tactical maneuvering, and maritime search and rescue operations, as well inspection and retaking of a ship seized by pirates. After that, the Pacific Fleet's group of ships will proceed to the Mediterranean to team up with the forces of the Northern and Baltic fleets for a joint exercise, the Defense Ministry said. On January 15, a group of 6 amphibious assault ships from the Baltic and Northern fleets left the port of Baltijsk to head for the designated area of the exercise in the Mediterranean. Currently, the group is crossing the Northern Sea. Russia has further upped the ante by announcing more military drills in the region. It also has refused to rule out the possibility of military deployments to the Caribbean, and President Vladimir Putin has reached out to leaders opposed to the West. The military muscle flexing reflects a bold attempt by the Kremlin to halt decades of North Atlantic Alliance expansion after the end of the Cold War. In talks with the United States, Russia demands legally binding guarantees that the alliance will not embrace Ukraine and other former Soviet nations, or place weapons there. It also wants North Atlantic Alliance to pull back its forces from countries in Central and Eastern Europe that joined the alliance since the 1990s. Putin has described North Atlantic Alliance membership for Ukraine and the others as well as the alliance's weapons deployments there as a red line for Moscow, warning that he would order unspecified, military technical measures, if the demands aren't met. Putin pointed to North Atlantic Alliance drills with the Ukrainian military, increasingly frequent visits of the alliance warships in the Black Sea and the flights of U.S. bombers near Crimea to emphasize the urgency of Russia's security demands. He argued that by creating training centers in Ukraine, Western powers can establish a military foothold there even without its joining North Atlantic Alliance. "We have nowhere to retreat," Putin said. "They have taken it to the point where we simply must tell them, stop." Earlier this week, the Russian Defense Ministry also announced a series of naval maneuvers in the Black Sea and more distant areas such as the Mediterranean, northeastern Atlantic and the Pacific. The exercises that will start this month and last through February would involve over 140 ships, dozens of aircraft and more than 10,000 personnel. Amid the tensions, Putin also worked to strengthen alliances with the countries opposed to the West. He has hosted Iran's hardline president for talks on expanding cooperation and is set to travel to the opening of the Winter Olympics in Beijing, where he will hold talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping. In recent days, Putin also spoke by phone with the leaders of Nicaragua and Venezuela, and a Russian government plane was recently seen cruising between Cuba and Venezuela in a possible harbinger of the next Kremlin moves. After the US and its allies rejected Russia's demands for a halt to North Atlantic Alliance expansion, Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov kept the door open for the deployment of military assets to Cuba and Venezuela. While voicing concern that North Atlantic Alliance could potentially use Ukrainian territory for the deployment of missiles capable of reaching Moscow in just 5 minutes, Putin has warned that Russian warships armed with the latest Zircon hypersonic cruise missile would give Russia a similar capability if deployed in neutral waters. Fyodor Lukyanov, a leading Russian foreign policy expert, observed that with Russia and the West taking intransigent stands in the talks, an escalation appears inevitable. Tensions will be high, including demonstrations of force not necessarily near or in Ukraine, Lukyanov wrote in a commentary. Real talks with some room for maneuvering and a broader agenda would ideally begin only after the next round of escalation in order to ease tensions.